seaQuest DSV is an American science fiction television series created by Rockner S. O'Bannon. It originally aired on NBC between 1993 and 1996. In its final season, it was renamed seaQuest 2032. Set in the near future, the year 2018, seaQuest DSV originally mixed high drama with realistic scientific fiction. It originally starred film star Roy Scheider as Captain Nathan Bridger, designer and commander of the titular naval submarine seaQuest DSV 4600. Jonathan Brandis also starred as Lucas Wolonchak, a teenaged computer genius placed aboard seaQuest by his father, and Stephanie Beacham as Kristen Westphalen, the chief medical officer and head of the seaQuest science department. In the third season, Michael Ironside replaced Scheider as lead of the series and starred as Captain Oliver Hudson. Also present was a dolphin character called Darwin who, due to technological advances, was able to communicate with the crew. Steven Spielberg expressed interest in the project and served as one of the show's executive producers during the first 2 seasons. Production of the first season was marked by disputes between the producers, NBC and cast members, changes in the production staff, and even an earthquake. The second season contained changes in the cast as well as continued disputes between cast members and producers, while the third season introduced a new lead actor and title. While initially popular, the series began to decline in ratings throughout its run and was abruptly cancelled in the middle of its third season. Season 1. The series follows the adventures of the high-tech submarine seaQuest DSV operated by the United Earth Oceans Organization, a global coalition of upworld countries and undersea confederations, similar to the United Nations and Star Trek's United Federation of Planets. The UEO was created following a major showdown of nations and confederations at the Livingston Trench in the North Atlantic Ocean that occurred circa 2017, and it remains a recurring element for the duration of the series. The seaQuest was designed by Nathan Bridger and built by NORPAC and given as a loan to the UEO after its creation. The storyline begins in the year 2018, after mankind has exhausted almost all natural resources, except for the ones on the ocean floor. Many new colonies have been established there, and it's the job of the seaQuest and its crew to protect them from hostile non-aligned nations and to aid in mediating disputes as well as engage in undersea research, much of which was still in the preliminary stages when the show began production in 1993. Bridger, though originally reluctant, due to a pact he made with his wife after their son, Robert, was killed in a naval military action before her death, is convinced to return to the Navy and assume command of the seaQuest after its original captain was relieved of duty for disobeying direct orders from NORPAC command by the ship's executive officer, who remains in charge of seaQuest till Bridger takes command. Part of the original focus of seaQuest DSV also centered around the interpersonal relationships of the crew, such as Captain Bridges, Lucas Wolonchak's, and Dr. Westphalen's relationship as a surrogate family, with Bridger and Westphalen's roles as Lucas's surrogate father and mother, and later on as Bridger and Westphalen's own personal relationship bloomed. Also the love-hate relationship between Lieutenant Benjamin Krieg and Lieutenant Commander Catherine Hitchcock, recently divorced, now forced to serve together on the same boat. It was also the first show of its kind to follow the armed forces practice, primarily that of the Navy, of reassigning officers to other ships and assignments at the end of a tour of duty. This offered the chance to bring in new officers and crew for the following season, though none of the officers or personnel that were replaced ever made any guest star appearances in the following seasons, with the exception of Lieutenant Benjamin Krieg in the third, and final, season. Season 2. In the first season finale, Bridger sacrificed the seaQuest to prevent an ecological disaster, and for a short time it was not known if the show would be renewed for another season. When it was decided the show would return, NBC and Universal used this opportunity to change the show's format. Both Royce D. Applegate and John D'Aquino were released by NBC as the network wanted a younger cast for the second year. Stacey Hyduke informed producers that she did not wish to relocate to Florida for the second season, having just returned to Los Angeles after spending 4 years there during the production of The Adventures of Superboy. Stephanie Beacham, who is Dr. Kristen Westphalen was one of the first season's strongest characters, was also hesitant to relocate to Florida. Beacham also blamed continued disputes between the network and the show's producers as a major reason why she did not return. The series had also suffered in the ratings, as it was pitted against Murder, She Wrote on CBS and Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman on ABC. Joining the series for Season 2 were Edward Kerr's Lieutenant James Brody, seaQuest S weapons officer, Kathy Everson as Lieutenant Lonnie Henderson, ship's helmsman, Rosalind Allen as Dr. Wendy Smith, the boat's new chief medical officer, Michael DeLuise as Seaman Anthony Piccolo, an ex-convict who has genetically engineered gills, and Peter DeLuise as Dagwood, a prototype genetically engineered life form who serves as seaQuest's custodian. As the seaQuest itself was rebuilt in the storyline, it allowed for the sets to be redesigned for the new Florida location, and a shortened version of the Emmy Award-winning main title theme was instituted as the series returned to the airwaves on September 18, 1994 with the 2-hour television movie, Daggers. The move to Florida also changed the seaQuest home port from Pearl Harbor to New Cape Quest, a fictional city in Florida, whose ocean view in the sincerest form of flattery was the harborside view of Boston, Massachusetts. The seaQuest herself in the redesign was made to be more fictional, with the tail of the giant squid design moving, as well as adding lasers to the front of the boat. Darwin's speech and actions were more fictional than in the first season as well. NBC also decided they wanted more traditionally science fiction-oriented episodes this season, a direction that was explored toward the end of the first season when seaQuest discovered a million-year-old alien ship entombed in the ocean floor. In the episode, Such Great Patience, whereas the first season dealt with issues like ecology, exploration of the sea, environmental radicals, advances in technology, and political intrigue, the second season featured episodes involving genetic engineering, aliens, parapsychology, time travel, and various monsters of the week. Roy Scheider was vocal in his anger at the show's new direction. In an interview given during the second season, Scheider averred, "It's childish trash. I am very bitter about it. I feel betrayed. It's not even good fantasy. I mean, Star Trek does this stuff much better than we can do it. To me the show is now 21 Jump Street meets Star Trek." Scheider felt the series had strayed too far away from its premise, and that he became more of a combat commander than a scientific commander, and I hadn't signed up for that. He added that after moving production to Florida, the show was going to present human beings who had a life on land as well as on the boat. "We've had one script that has done that," Scheider said. "The other shows is Saturday afternoon 4 o'clock junk for children. Just junk, old, tired, time warp robot crap." As Scheider explained, "I don't do this kind of stuff. I said, if I wanted to do the fourth generation of Star Trek, I would have signed up for it. I wouldn't have done seaQuest. You guys have changed it from handball into field hockey and never even bothered to talk to me." Scheider's comments left him in trouble with some of the executive producers, including Patrick Has Berg, who, in reply, had strong words for Scheider as well. "I'm sorry, he is such a sad and angry man. seaQuest is going to be a terrific show, and he is lucky to be part of it." By the end of Season 2, seaQuest DSV was again suffering, partly attributed to a perceived decrease in the quality of the writing as well as preemptions by NBC due to sports coverage. The threat of cancellation loomed large, but NBC kept the show in production after plans for a new series titled Rolling Thunder to replace seaQuest, DSV were cancelled. Producer Lee Goldberg claimed the new series was cancelled because the premise was awful. Season 3. The world is not a nice place. It's not comfortable. Corporate entities have grown to the point where they rival and sometimes are more powerful than actual national governments. UEO is not the big kid on the block anymore. seaQuest is no longer state-of-the-art. It's a boat and it's a military vehicle, and I'm going to take it places it has never been before. Michael Ironside, in an interview promoting Season 3, blaming continued disputes with producers and abandonment of the show's original premise, Roy Scheider requested to be released from his contract with NBC. However, the network only partially agreed and demanded that Bridger would make several appearances throughout the third season. Edward Kerr had been very frustrated with the episode entitled Alone, and also wished to exit the series in the third season, which is why his character was critically injured in the season finale, Splashdown. However, NBC would only agree to release him from his contract if he continued to play Brody for a few episodes in the third season so his character could be killed off for more dramatic impact in the episode Spindrift. Rosalind Allen was released as her character proved to be unpopular with the audience. Marco Sanchez, who had requested to remain with the series, was also released after NBC decided it wanted the principal cast number dropped from 10 to 9, leaving Jonathan Brandis, Don Franklin, and Ted Raimi as the only three cast members who remained with the show since the first episode. The Marine Trivia presentations at the end of the show, formerly hosted by oceanographer Drive Bob Ballard in the first season and the principal cast in the second season, were dropped entirely. The show itself was renamed to seaQuest 2032, with the storyline pushed ahead 10 years after the end of Season 2. In the season premiere, the seaQuest reappears on Earth, its crew mostly intact, 10 years after their abduction at the end of Season 2. Captain Bridger retires to raise his new grandson, and Michael Ironside joins the cast as the more militaristic Captain Oliver Hudson. Originally, Ironside refused to take over for Scheider as star of the series. I saw so many problems that I couldn't see where I'd be able to do the work I wanted to do, claimed Ironside. After weeks of negotiations where Ironside offered producers a number of changes to the storytelling structure of the series, which were mutually agreed upon, he finally signed on. You won't see me fighting any man-eating glowworms, rubber plants, 40-foot crocodiles, and I don't talk to Darwin, he said. Also joining the cast was Elise Neal as Lieutenant J.J. Fredericks, who serves as seaQuest's ace sub-fighter pilot, steering back towards more reality-based storylines. The third season attempted to blend the sense of the first season with some of the more unique elements of the second season, while at the same time pushing forward in an entirely new direction altogether as the UEO faces the threat of the Macronesian alliance and the ever-growing corporate conglomerate Dion International. The series is perceived as becoming much darker than it was in the previous two seasons, focusing less on science and science fiction and more on international politics. While these changes were met with mostly positive reactions, ratings did not increase and NBC cancelled the series after 13 episodes. The final network airing of seaQuest DSV 2032 took place on June 9, 1996 after 57 episodes. Cast: Season 1 Roy Scheider as Captain Nathan Bridger, Jonathan Brandis as Lucas Wolonchak, Stephanie Beacham as Dr. Kristen Westphalen, Stacey Hyduke as Lieutenant Commander Catherine Hitchcock, Don Franklin as Commander Jonathan Ford, John DeCino as Lieutenant Benjamin Krieg, Royce D. Applegate as Chief Manolo Crocker, Ted Raimi as Lieutenant Tim O'Neill, Marco Sanchez as Censor Chief Miguel Ortiz, Frank Welker as voice of Darwin, Dr. Bob Ballard as himself. Marine Trivia during credits. Season 2. Rosalind Allen as Dr. Wendy Smith, Edward Kerr as Lieutenant James Brody, Michael DeLuise as Seaman Anthony Piccolo, Kathy Everson as Lieutenant Lonnie Henderson, Peter DeLuise as Dagwood. Season 3. Michael Ironside as Captain Oliver Hudson, Elise Neal as Lieutenant J.J. Fredericks. Recurring guest cast. Season 1. Richard Hurd as Admiral Secretary General William Noyce, W. Morgan Shepherd as the Old Man, Professor Martinson, Dustin Nguyen as Chief William Shan, Jesse Doran as General Francis Gideon Thomas, Kent McCord as Commander Scott Keller, Robert Engels as Malcolm Lansdowne, Mark Fauser as Weapons Officer Dalton Phillips, Timothy Omenson as Dr. Joshua Levin, Dan Hildebrand as Helmsman Carlton, Roscoe Lee Brown as Dr. Raleigh Young, Sarah Koskoff as Julianne, Dennis Arndt as Navy Quartermaster Bickle, James Shigeta as Montagnard Confederation President Kai, Jonathan Banks as Maximilian Scully. Season 2. Michael Costello as Secretary General McGarth, Sam Jenkins as Mariah, Mark Hamill as Tobias LeConte. Season 3. Karen Fraction as Dr. Perry, Michael York as President Alexander Bourne of Micronesia, Andrew Stahl as General Stassi, Tim Decay as Larry Dion, Ralph Wilcox as Mason Freeman, Patricia Charbonneau as Elaine Morse. Additionally, seaQuest DSV featured a significant number of guest stars, both familiar with the science fiction genre and otherwise, including William Shatner in the episode Hide and Seek, as deposed Serbo-Croatian Alliance President Milos Tesliv, Tim Roth in the episode Photon Bullet, Yaphet Kotto in the episode Treasures of the Tonga Trench, Charlton Heston in the episode Abalone, David McCallum in the episode seaQuest, David Morse in the episode seaQuest, Seth Green in the episode Photon Bullet, Kent McCord in the episodes Better Than Martians, Such Great Patience, The Fear That Follows, Dreamweaver, and Splashdown, Robert Foxworth in the episode Sympathy for the Deep, Dom DeLuise in the episode Vapors, Mark Hamill in the episodes Dreamweaver and Splashdown, Michael York in the episodes Brave New World, Brainlock, and Spindrift, Brittany Murphy in the episode Second Chance episodes. During the first and second seasons, NBC aired the show on Sundays at 8 p.m. During the second season, NBC would begin preempting the show in favor of NBC sports coverage. NBC had originally planned to cancel seaQuest DSV partway through the second season in favor of another show about a high-tech truck, entitled Rolling Thunder. However, NBC executives were unimpressed with the new show's development and kept seaQuest DSV in production. Shortly before the third season was to premiere, the second season episode, Blindsided, was finally aired after being preempted twice. During the third season, NBC moved the show to Wednesdays at 8 p.m., but continued to frequently preempt the show in favor of sports coverage and other television specials. Several of the show's producers, including Carlton Eastlake, believed these preemptions led to the show's cancellation. In fact, the final Wednesday night episode of the series was preempted by the Detroit NBC affiliate, among other stations, in favor of a news special. Currently, seaQuest DSV does not air in syndication or reruns. After cancellation, the series aired on the Sci-Fi Channel in the United States for a number of years, as well as Space, the Imagination station in Canada, both of which aired marathons of the series on occasion.